What if I told you that the biggest threat to your team's productivity isn't their workload? It's what's sitting in their bank account, or more accurately, what they think is sitting there. Hi, friends. Welcome back to Productive Passions, the podcast that highlights people who follow what they're passionate about and make a difference in this world, especially around the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. I'm Christy Tagey, and you're listening to our series, Financial Health Matters. Today's conversation sits at the intersection of two critical UN SDGs. SDG number 3, good health and well-being, and SDG number 8, decent work and economic growth. Because here's what we're learning. You can't separate financial wellness from mental health, and you can't build thriving workplaces when employees are drowning in financial stress. We're tackling a topic that affects people at every career stage, costs American businesses over $500 billion annually, and rarely gets discussed until it's too late: financial wellness. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Employees across all income levels are sitting in strategy meetings mentally calculating whether they can make ends meet. High performers earning six figures still feel like they're living paycheck to paycheck. And financial stress doesn't just drain bank accounts. It destroys relationships. It tanks productivity and keeps talented people trapped in survival mode. What if there's a better way? What if companies could actually do something about this? Not with generic budgeting tips, but with a holistic approach that treats financial wellness like the mental health issue it actually is. Today, I'm joined by Courtney Cardin, co-founder of Aura Finance, a company that's revolutionizing how organizations support their employees' financial health. They're building something different, a corporate benefit that weaves together psychology, mindful money management, and practical coaching to help people build better relationships with money. Courtney's going to share why the 50-30-20 rule actually works when most budgets fail, how befriending your future self changes everything about saving, and why having an accountability partner can boost your financial success rate by 95%. Whether you're a business leader wondering how to support your team, someone navigating money conversations in your relationship, or simply trying to figure out why financial security feels so elusive, this conversation is for you. Let's get into it. Courtney, thank you again for saying yes to being a guest on Productive Passions. It's so good to see you again. How have you been?
Thank you for having me back. I've been great. Motherhood, closing out a seed round, just living our best lives. So busy.
Your background is vast. You are an attorney with a degree from Georgetown University and a Bachelor of Arts in International Studies and Jewish Studies from Emory University. You've worked in the Senate. You're a partner, a co-founder. You've spent time in Australia as an impact investment fellow. You've already accomplished so much, but this is not atypical for someone in your family. Your grandmother was a pioneer in the financial space. Before we get into you and what you're doing, can you tell me a little bit about her and how her work influenced what you're doing?
Absolutely. And both of my grandmothers were just formidable people. And so in 2019, I actually had the privilege of spending the year between both Melbourne, Australia, where my mother's mother was born, and Tel Aviv, where my father's mother was born. So it was a really special time. And I felt like I got to connect more deeply with them being in their ancestral homes. Now, my paternal grandmother, Shoshana Cardin, I always knew was sort of a stalwart in the Jewish community, an incredible lay leader, a wonderful speaker. I just always looked up to her. But it wasn't until my own money coaching journey where I came back from Australia and really started to dive into the thoughts and feelings and beliefs around money and my own money story that I learned that she also had been a financial counselor. And she was also responsible for helping to write the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, which is the law that finally gave women and people of color the right to open bank accounts and get credit in our own name.
And that was that?
That was passed in 1974. So we just celebrated last year the 50th anniversary. So much of what we do at Aura is really about carrying on that legacy. She worked so hard to ensure that I would have the right to have a bank account in my own name. And I feel it's incumbent upon me to ensure that people have the technology available and the emotional support they need to really avail themselves of those rights. So that's really what we're all about at Aura.
So tell us a little bit about Aura.
So Aura is a psychology-backed financial wellness and wealth management platform. We offer financial wellness as a corporate benefit, and we work with employees to improve the health and wealth of your entire workforce. The way we do that is by offering financial wellness assistance through workshops, one-on-one coaching, digital coaching, and wealth management services.
So if I am a founder or owner or CEO or benefits director at an organization, how do I reach out to you? And what would I expect from Aura if I want to offer what you're doing as a benefit?
Great question. So financial wellness is the number one requested benefit, and 88% of people under the age of 40 are feeling financially anxious. So they're looking to their employers to help them with a solution. And while many of the larger financial services providers are saying they're offering financial wellness, they're typically just offering the standard 401k program and then providing sort of some type of CFP hotline. What we know from behavioral psychology is that if you're not ready to engage in the conversation around money, it doesn't matter what type of educational tools or investment tools that are thrown at you, you won't use them. You will go into, people are very familiar with fight or flight mode, but there's also freeze. And so we talk a lot about the financial freeze and how to get people comfortable to come out of that. So if you're an employer and you're looking to work with Aura, you would talk with us. You could find our website, aurafinance.io, or you could reach out to me or my co-founder, Kelsey, and you would have a conversation with us about how we can integrate with your systems to better support your workforce and how we can provide you value as the decision maker with really solid insights that are built on behavioral information as well as transactional information that gives you a better picture of the overall health and well-being of your workforce over time.
So does that mean I have, as an employer, I can see into my employees' financial health?
No, everything is anonymized, and everything that we talk about with our clients is private. So we never share that back with employers. What we do is we take an overall assessment of how people are feeling. We help them better understand what their benefits packages are. So, for example, say you're a 35-year-old female who is pregnant and you want to better understand what the benefits are at your company. Aura, as your financial co-pilot, can not only help you say, hey, by the way, it might make sense for you to set up a 529 account for your kid's college fund, but also, did you know as an employee, you have access to fertility benefits that cover lactation consultants and doulas and all sorts of other things that you don't think about until you're pregnant. So we use that information to then also educate HR teams about what benefits people know about, which ones they don't know about, how to increase utilization of the overall total compensation rewards packages, and how to really message to employees that the company offers a lot of benefits that actually do really impact the employee's bottom line and their overall financial health and well-being.
That makes a lot of sense to me because having joined different companies throughout the years, you get your benefits package. And as the employee, you're expected to review it and to know that. But as an HR specialist, I may not understand how well my employees or my colleagues understand their benefits. So it would seem to me that not only what you're offering in terms of financial well-being, but also in understanding the benefits may make for a happier employee. Is that fair?
Yeah, exactly.
If I'm an employee of a company that offers or as a benefit, what can I expect when I join the company?
You can get access to a one-on-one coach, and you can also get personalized onboarding as you sign up for the platform. So signing up means putting in know your numbers, getting your financial plan, and getting personalized tailored action items and goals to help you achieve your plan. Now, we use things like a deeper exercise around your why, right? We don't want you just setting a goal that says, I want to save for a house because that's what I think I'm supposed to do. And everyone's supposed to save for a house. It's 2025. People are working remotely. People are digital nomads. They're traveling. They're changing the way they live. And their financial goals should change to align with what their personal definition of success is. So we use behavioral exercises like, what's your deeper why? What's your money personality? Let's take your financial well-being score. And we get a snapshot of where people are in their relationship with money to help them use money as a means, but not an end to achieve the life they want to live.
So it really is personalized, and it's not sort of the cookie cutter experience that we've seen historically in the past about saving a certain percentage and putting a certain percentage here or there without consideration of who I am, where I am, and what I might want. And that may be a bit of an exaggeration, but what I'm hearing you talk about is extremely personalized.
Very much so, yes.
I heard you say our money story is created by the time we are 7.
Yes.
Can you shed light on this?
Yes. So there's research that shows we actually understand the concept of money before we understand the concept of death. And when you think about it, it's not that crazy because you're exposed to money from the very beginning. And your ideas about money are very much influenced by your parents, your family, the way money is treated in your household. Think about holidays, birthday parties, allowance. There are so many ways that money comes up, not to mention how the heads of household talk about money or don't talk about money with each other. And then you also are influenced by society, sort of where you fall in the birth order, the influencers you're following on TikTok, the money traumas your grandparents endured from previous generations. All of that flows down and creates your money story. And so a lot of this is actually written for you before you're 7 years old because you're just taking in so many data points from so many other experiences. And then it sort of runs subconsciously on the background forever. So you might have a sibling. I have a sister. We're 18 months apart. We were raised by the same two parents in the same household and with the same philosophies on money. And she's much more of a spender and I'm much more of a saver. And that happened because of the way we interact with our parents. It happened because of the way we showed up in society. It happened because of what money meant to us in relation to the context with our parents. So it's very common to see two kids from the same family have completely different money stories. And it's a wild and fascinating space.
It is fascinating. I am one of 7 children, and we were raised by the same two parents, but we do have very different ways of interacting with money, spending, or saving. So I definitely understand that. But also, we were raised at different points in my parents' lives. When I'm one of the older 3, when we were younger, my parents didn't have a lot of extra money, and my dad got paid once a month. So we ate really well at the beginning of the month. And at the end of the month, it was like cereal, which for me was fantastic. But now I realize it was because it's what we had left. The
Right.
younger siblings didn't experience that as much, but still the same parents, still the same principles. My parents were pretty fiscally conservative. But we are, to your point, we are very, very different in the way we think about and the way we interact with money.
Yeah, it's incredible. And the things you learn and sort of things you internalize and how that goes on. So there are some people who grew up, and they really didn't have a lot of money. And then they managed to get a job where they're making more money and they seem to be spending it faster than they can make it. And a lot of that has to do with a deeper sense of, am I worthy of having this money because I didn't have it before and now I have it and I don't have a model for responsible use. So a lot of what we do also is sort of building a healthy relationship with your future self, talking about your future goals, imagining that you already have achieved that sort of life and vision of success, that house, that situation, and really understanding how you got there and building that relationship, because the science tells us the more we learn to treat our future selves like a friend or a family member that we care about rather than a stranger, the more likely we are to make better decisions in service of that future self.
A lot of our listeners want to do something different with their life.
Mhm.
What financial considerations should they think about before maybe leaving their current job and starting something new?
I think it's really important to reflect on what your current situation is and what your relationship with money is. So the platform is very straightforward and helps you understand sort of the basics of personal finance, right? You should have an emergency savings, and that should be anywhere from 3 to 6 months. So if you do want to do something else or you do end up losing your job, you have that cushion to cover your needs. And then beyond that, you want to also build a safety net and you want to invest for the future. So it's important to have that emergency savings, to put excess, capital towards making sure you're paying off debt, because debt can really eat into your future plans. And then also make sure that you have a plan to keep contributing for the future. It's an economically uncertain time. Benefits are constantly changing, and it's really important for people to be leveraging the tools available to them to invest for that future. So before you make a big change, really understand how that's going to impact not only your financial bottom line today, but also your finances in the future.
When you and I first spoke, you mentioned the importance of financial wellness and a 50-30-20 guidance. What is that all about?
So we use the 50-30-20 budget, which I think became really popular with Elizabeth Warren and her daughter. It's essentially the same as if you've ever heard of the 80-20 budget. So 80% go to needs and wants. We break that out, 50% on needs, 30% on wants. And then 20% of your monthly income should go to your saving and investing goals. So that can be paying down debt, that can be building up an emergency savings, and that can be investing for the future. It's just a framework to help you get into the mindset of paying your future self first and making sure that your bases are covered for those unexpected expenses that'll come up, like a car repair or a trip that you want to take. It's really a planning tool to help you manage unexpected expenses and then also be able to spend without guilt. Because if you're allocating your funds correctly, you can allocate within that 30% on wants to, dinner and drinks out with friends once a week or twice a week or however much you're doing, and be able to go out and just focus on enjoying time with your friends rather than kicking yourself for going out a second night that week and spending that money. We really are all about sort of planning to absolve you of guilt, because it's no way to live to have that money if you're not going to enjoy it and you're just going to be thinking about spending it as opposed to earmarking it for that experience.
Well, and also the way you're talking about it, and if we're planning that, then we have an idea of where we are. We're not just spending blindly. Can you talk to me a little bit about the difference between a spending plan and a budget?
Yes, absolutely. Great question. So we don't like to use the word budget because people think of budgets as like very stringent. And actually, everyone says they want a budget, but they don't really want a budget. Because if you've ever actually helped someone set a budget, they immediately rebel against it. And that's definitely natural. That's what your brain wants to do. You don't want those constraints. So the spending plan built around the 50-30-20 is really helping you get an idea of what you're already spending on and understanding if it's in alignment with your values, your current values of living your life today, enjoying it, using the funds that you have to make the most of where you are, as well as still putting some aside to plan for the future. So with the spending plan, you can flex up, you can flex down. That 80% between needs and wants, you can adjust that so that it really matches where you are in your life. But the idea is really, this is a way to bucket your money in a way that aligns with the life you want to live today and the life you want to live in the future. And so adjusting your spending plan just helps you remain aware of the trade-offs that you're making to enjoy life to the fullest today versus maybe sacrificing a few things today so that you have the benefit of compound interest powering you into the future.
So when an employee that works for a company that's partnered with Aura is looking at their spending, is there a tool that helps them create that spending plan so they can look and say, okay, this month I have a little bit more. I had an extra check this month from work, so I could put it here? Or is that part of the benefit, is a tool?
Yes. So there's the coaches that will also help you set your plan and execute on your plan and be your accountability partner, because the science shows that while you're 65% more likely to achieve a goal when you write it down, that likelihood actually jumps to 95% when you have a trusted accountability partner who you're meeting with regularly.
I'll do a better job by 95% if I have an accountability partner.
Yes, if you write down your goal clearly and then you engage an accountability partner to meet with you regularly and keep you accountable on achieving that goal, the likelihood of success can jump up to 95%.
And what is that meeting like when I'm meeting with somebody? They're not beating me over the head. What is that meeting like?
I think holding yourself to that meeting is a true test of your ability to execute, right? So if you're saying like, look, this is something I want to do and I need your help. So I need you to be a mirror if I'm not living up to the agreement that I've made to myself. And so you're saying like, I'm going to put $50 away every paycheck towards my emergency savings until I hit my $3,000 emergency savings goal. And I want to meet with you every week so that we can talk about if that's actually happening. I mean, we make it easy to automate your recurring investments, but there are other things you can do. Like also, I want to be held accountable for having quarterly meetings with my partner around our house finances. So you might meet with a coach quarterly as well to either help you prepare or debrief and tell you how it went. So it depends on what the goal is, but coaches are there. They're trained to help people do what they need to do to confront and rewrite their money story in a way that really serves them and then take actions to move forward on their financial journeys.
So if somebody wanted to meet with their coach with their significant other, is that an option?
Yes, absolutely. We do that all the time.
It's probably an important thing to be sure everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, and you would think that we'd probably spend a lot of time diving into budgets and spreadsheets, which we do spend some time doing, but a lot of times we spend time talking about the relationship between money. So we use a lot of academic based scales and expert sort of research. One of my favorites is the Spendthrift Tightwad. And so it's a scale, and you might not need to take it because you might already know whether you lean more Spendthrift Tightwad. And let's say that you're a spendthrift, and let's say that your husband is a tightwad. What brought you to sort of be attracted in the first place could have been the fact that he seemed slightly more responsible with money, where you were maybe more attractive to him because you're more easeful with money. And so you both have this sort of opposites attract dynamic about your relationships with money, which is all well and good while you're courting. But then let's say you move in together and he's got a $10,000 furnishing budget and you just fell in love with a $10,000 couch. And now you're fighting and you don't know why, because you used to love that he was so detail oriented and had this ability to constrain his spending, but now it's impacting you and you're not getting the thing that you want. And it's also jarring with your money identity. And so that's the crux of where a lot of the marital issues actually come from.
And it sounds funny to, as you were saying that, I'm thinking, okay, well, so we have one piece of furniture and it is that sofa that I really wanted. But all joking aside, a lot of times marriages and relationships end because of financial constraints, financial stressors. Is that something that you hear frequently?
Yes. And also, I'm one of them. I was married to a wealth advisor who was my college sweetheart. And he's a lovely human being. We're still very good friends. But we met when we had no money. And then when I had money, I gave it to him because he was a wealth advisor. And then later, I realized I wanted to, leave the big law sector, work in the public interest, take a big pay cut. And all of a sudden, the money conversations that we never had became arguments about a lifestyle we couldn't afford. And we finally sat down and had that important conversation about what we wanted our lives to look like and realized we were just on different pages. And so it's no surprise that money is the second leading cause of divorce and separation. And I'd actually argue it's probably the leading cause because a lot of the things that lead to it, including infidelity and things like that, have a lot of financial infidelity or secretive and just not sharing information.
Is that something you've ever had a client request, is to get together with a future partner to talk about their different styles, not to be a counselor, but to talk about it? Because sometimes it's easier to talk about with someone not influenced by one or the other. There's no interest at all, but as a way to have the conversation before the big commitment?
100%. I'm a huge fan of like premarital counseling and couples therapy. I think it's really, really important. And I think of what we do at Aura as simply therapy for your wallet and your relationship with your money. So there's always going to be three entities in your relationship between you, your partner, and your money. So you need to make room for that conversation. And we have a lot of experience talking to couples, helping them sort of see each other's perspectives around money and also give them tools to find common ground about how they want to treat money to really get to the idea of, okay, money is a means to an end. Let's reconcile our ends and let's also talk about how we manage those means.
If I am an entrepreneur all by myself and I really want to work with you, is there a space in Aura for individuals to sign up as individuals or as their company of one or two or a handful?
We started as a direct to consumer company, but we are definitely working as a corporate benefit and making headway with larger partners. That said, if you are an entrepreneur and you're particularly interested in it, we make exceptions and have the ability for friends and family to come because, frankly, we're always looking for good user feedback. And I think entrepreneurs are some of the best people to help you sort of test and iterate more quickly. So I would say if you're interested and you or your partner have a corporate employer, the best thing to do is for you to introduce us to that corporate employer and help us come into the company. And if you're really, really, really excited and you want to see it, then, there's always opportunities to take advantage of the platform as well.
I was going to ask you that as well. If I'm an employee of a bigger company and this is something that is very important to me or I want my company to look into, what is your recommendation if somebody's not comfortable going to their HR department and saying, hey, I want you to talk to these people? How can they approach that?
They can reach out to us directly. We have pre-filled forms, the things that they can send to their HR team, or they can just tell us that they'd like us to reach out and we can reach out directly and talk about why Aura is not only useful for that end employee to feel better, but what the bottom line really does mean for that HR person, that team, and that company, because it does cost employers every year over $500 billion in lost productivity, wages, and healthcare issues as well. So really addressing that financial wellness is a really important component of benefits and absolutely impacts the company's bottom line.
I want you to talk about that a little bit more for just a minute. What you're telling me is the employee stress around their financial situation, if there is, impacts the bottom line of the company?
Yes, absolutely. So lost wages, productivity. If you think about where we were during COVID, everyone was investing in sort of mental health and wellness solutions. But if we don't talk about financial wellness is really the crux, the foundation of your wellness, right? Most people are anxious or financially stressed. And that, if it's not addressed, can turn into and spiral into larger mental health issues. Those also turn into larger healthcare issues that increase premiums and increase expenses related to those health and wellness issues if you're not taking care of the anxiety at the bottom level. So that incurs significant costs, not to mention just standard absenteeism and errors on work because you're just busy thinking about money and you're busy worried and your mind is somewhere else. These are all significant costs and significant issues for employers.
Well, and one thing that I am familiar with, I've seen, and as a younger professional, I did myself, was take on multiple jobs. So when I showed up for my main job, being exhausted, not that I didn't want to give them my all, but I may be exhausted from working 4 more hours after work to earn what I felt like I needed to take care of my family.
Sure. I mean, we're all just human, right? At this point, we need to also prioritize self care and make sure we're getting enough sleep and make sure we're eating right. And all of these things matter. And you can't meditate your way out of poverty. I'm not suggesting that Aura is going to be the answer that solves the economic income gap. What I am suggesting is that with over 50% of people who are making over $100,000 feeling like they're living paycheck to paycheck, we're having a real problem in this country. There's a real epidemic that needs to be addressed. And part of that can be dealt with information and how to better utilize the capital that we have or the income that we're getting. And part of it needs to be sort of emotional and behavioral. We need to understand that when money comes up, it feels like a scarce object. It feels like our body is in fight or flight mode or freeze mode, and we need to just run away from the topic or avoid it altogether, or just we are paralyzed and don't know how to address it and go forward. And a lot of that is because we're not taught about money in schools. And so, because our employers are the typical number one source of our income, we also look to them for guidance on how to manage that income over the long term.
Do you think employers know that they are considered, whether they want to or not, educators of everything finance? Because of the other benefits that are provided, the 401k, and so they're really looking to their employer to help them take care of their future.
I think if you've owned a business, you sort of know that, but it's not the purpose of the business, right? It's not always core to the business. So
Right.
even if that's something that should be on the top of your mind, and for anyone who manages people, their overall health and well-being should be top of mind for you, right? If you don't have people, then you don't have a business, for now, at least. And so it should be of concern, but I don't think we can fault employers for it not being in their wheelhouse, because
Sure.
if you created a, refrigerator business, your business is creating refrigerators and sending them out. Like, it's not exactly easy to then just move into, okay, how do I help people feel better about their finances? And so that's why we work really closely with corporate partners who understand the importance of delivering on financial wellness benefits, because not only it's the number one requested benefit, but because it's really important to have a healthy and wealthy workforce to keep powering your company. And so being able to do that in a holistic way in partnership with Aura lends to their bottom line as well.
You have been extremely busy. I mean, creating this company and doing all the things that you have to do to have a successful company, I know is not easy. Do you have a mantra that you sort of call to mind when things get tough for you?
Oh, that's interesting. I don't think I have a mantra as much as a sort of meditation practice. I'm a big fan of breath work. The physiological sigh has a lot of science behind it, 2 deep inhales and then an exhale. Um, I really like these tricks that you can do to short circuit and immediately rewire your nervous system. I think the body is such an incredible, interesting thing. And whether it's taking a very cold shower or an ice bath or doing the breath work or things like that, it's more of a practice of sort of noticing when my nervous system is activated or elevated. And now that I have a 6-month-old, that's time. And then really being able to leverage these interesting tools to be able to kind of give myself that reset in the moment. It doesn't fix everything, but that taking that moment to pause and recognize that I'm in need of a fix, and then also having these different tools in my toolkit really makes me feel more empowered to sort of change the direction of my day.
And if anybody's interested, probably about a year ago, I spoke with Rachel Vickery, who talks about the autonomic nervous system and breathing and how to recognize when you're starting to creep closer to fight, flight, or freeze, some of the things that you could do. So I'm glad that you brought that up. That's such an important thing. And years ago, it was considered kind of hippie to use breathing. Now we know there is actual science behind it, that things happen in your body physiologically with the chemistry that does change the way you feel. So I'm glad that you brought that up. If you could give your younger self advice, what would you tell yourself?
Oh, that's a good question. I think just that nothing is guaranteed. And so, like, you really want to hope for the best, plan for the worst, but then get on with your life. we don't know what tomorrow brings. You want to make sure that you're set for tomorrow if you're fortunate enough to get to tomorrow, but spending all of your time worrying about tomorrow means you're going to miss the beauty of life and the present day. And I think so much of anxiety is about future worry or past worry or things that are beyond our control. And it's hard to live in the moment. That's why meditation is really hard, clearing your mind and just being present. And I think that, really taking the time to be present and also really taking the time to have gratitude for the present moment and sort of train your brain to appreciate all that is this crazy, wonderful life that you're living is, the best way that you can change your experience, because who knows if any of this is real. I mean, right? Your perspective is your perspective. So it's the only thing you have control over anyway.
That's right. That's right. Well said. What's next for you?
Well, we are growing the company. We are excited to partner with new partners, and we're excited to essentially redefine what financial wellness means. This is an amazing opportunity to completely be a market leader and pull these massive incumbents along and say, if you're going to say you're doing financial wellness, you better do financial wellness. It better be a holistic approach. It better be hyper personalized, and it better be designed to help each individual person where they are move forward, feel empowered, and get to a place where they feel comfortable about the tools that are available to them and feel like a better financial future is possible.
Oh, I like how you said that. It's not just having the tools, but making sure people understand them and feel good about them and use them. Let's mention again where people can reach you if they want to reach out to you and talk about Aura for their company.
Absolutely. You can find us at aurafinance.io, our website, and you can email me, Courtney at aurafinance.io. Both are pretty easy.
I will include those in show notes. Courtney, thank you so much again. For the audience, this isn't the first time Courtney and I have done this, and I appreciate you being willing to do it again and showing up. I know this is an important conversation, not just between us, but between partners, for employers, for HR folks who are looking for what are the benefits that we should have to attract the kind of talent that we want to have. So thank you again for joining me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me back, Christy. It was really fun.
What a powerful conversation with Courtney. Financial wellness is all about mental health, relationships, and creating workplaces where people can thrive. If this episode resonated with you, here's what you can do. Subscribe to Productive Passions on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube, or your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss future episodes. Leave a rating and review. It helps others discover these conversations and lets us know what resonated with you. Share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Maybe your HR partners, company founder, CEO, or other employee champion. Tag us at Productive Passions and tell us your biggest takeaway. All links to connect with Courtney and Aura Finance are in the show notes. Thanks for listening. I'm Christy Tagey, and remember, keep following your passions and befriend your future self.